Cool, but I want to start with our last and final closing track. I want to do 4 main things. 1, help all of you humans recap what we've done over the last 3 days together. 2, retro. We use these retros incredibly deeply to plan future FDSs, future hacker houses, future gatherings for the Filecoin community. So please give us that feedback so that we can keep making these gatherings more useful over time. We have a lot of people to say thank you to who made this event possible. So we'll come back together after the retro and do a lot of clapping as a group so that everyone feels appropriately appreciated. And then last but not least, we'll say goodbye and send you off into the rest of your lab week / DevCon / Bangkok experience. And so those are our 4 things we're doing in this track. So first off, big round of applause for all of you for an amazing summit. Woohoo! Hopefully you all have had a wonderful time. You got a lot of great conversations, got your Bangkok Phil Corgi, and are having a great time. We also have a quick recap video for you, which hopefully plays. I swear I saw a corgi head do a 360 there for a second. That was cool. I also wanted to take a moment again to say a big thank you to our sponsors. They made this whole venue possible. They put a lot of time and effort into helping bring you all together here and make it able for us to have this gathering. So big thank you to Filecoin Foundation, Protocol Labs, ZetaCube, Boosty, Lighthouse, Fleek, Secured Finance, and Glyph for making this possible. All right, with that, we are going to go into our track recaps. We had a lot of different content here, so the aim is to recap what did we learn, and also it's an opportunity to share back with the community what are we gonna do next. Usually we are kicking off larger threads of work or larger threads of conversation in these summits, so there's often lots of follow-up. So this is your opportunity to share back and also make sure that you are, maybe if there was someone in the that wasn't in the track, letting them know about all of the things that we're now gonna go do as an ecosystem. Okay, with that, I need all of my track leads to come back up on stage, back in order. Yeah, big round of applause for our track leads. Thank you all. Okay, our first track was the Filecoin Challenges, Opportunities, and Next Step track. It was me and Juan. Some of the things that we did, our learnings and takeaway, we recapped and motivated some of the key needs from metric systems, economic value flows, functional storage retrieval lifecycle, and product market fit with key clients. So we've identified some of the things that are working, some of the things that aren't working, and some of the user groups that we need to make sure they work really well for. We also spent a lot of time as a community talking about the tools we have, the opportunities we have, and the challenges we have, and some of the things we're going to do to make them better. And we identified some priority areas to then discuss in the PMF track. One of the big things is we created, if I can go to the next slide, this super awesome deep document, which you can't read there at all. But some of our next steps are really around this, reviewing and iterating on the challenges, opportunities, and things to problem solve within here, grading how many of the things in the column, you can't read it all there, but that is, things to solve during FDS actually did get solved, and creating some AI-generated summaries of this so it's more accessible to the wider community. Juan, anything to add? No? Cool. Awesome. Next track, PMF.
Amazing. So with the PMF track, we first started on day 1 with an understanding of what's happening with SLAs. Steve presented his dashboard. We really understood where FIL plus Spark and Station interacted with SLAs. We also want to understand why PMF is important. A lot of people use the word PMF, but we found since the last Dev Summit, people had very different ways of looking at it and how to measure it. And so John and a few others did a great job in discussing that with this broader group. Day 2 was really focused on client personas. We had kicked off the day with Jen, who's interviewed over, I think, 570 clients at this point in terms of what their needs are, who the key personas are when you're talking to someone around Filecoin, and then making sure that we can also map Juan and Molly's picture here around the different markets for Filecoin and where our current solutions are at right now. So as you can see here, we saw a lot of opportunities, but also a lot of gaps, and started putting time horizons on them. Saying, for example, for large scale storage, we know that a typical sales cycle might take 6 to 12 months. There's a huge sales team that is missing in that gap. And there's also a lot of people that short term can land a lot of good deals on Web3 object storage, but it may or may not be long-term sustainable. And so we want to make sure that there continues to be this feedback mechanism where all these teams building these solutions, they can actually also make sure they're checking in with customers on requirements. We had a chance to also hear from a number of projects on their pain points, from Akave, from different storage providers, even one here in Thailand. And we also heard about how we can co-sell with other providers in the DePIN network like Aether, how they're approaching sales from their GPU side and opportunities to work together. And then as next steps and takeaways, we talked about the importance of having some kind of client success working group to be formed so that we can really make sure that there is feedback from clients back to storage providers and also engineering teams in the ecosystem. And that feedback loop can fully close. So we're going to kick that off after this Dev Summit. We also talked about deadlines for the SLA dashboard, making sure that we can get SLO and sector health rates done by the end of the year. Steve's going to DRI that. And then finally, we're going to try to share with this group all the different client personas we're identifying right now for ecosystem awareness. So you guys are aware of what the current client needs are. We'll find a way to update that frequently. And how to make sure that when we talk about things like PO reps, we can find the right way to bring the value to clients who are going to touch them at the end of the day. And sometimes cool technology doesn't quite make the cut, depending on who you're talking to. And big thanks to Paul for his help in helping me with this track.
Woohoo! Awesome. Megan, the slides disappeared, but strategic marketing in a decentralized world. Recap.
Yes, a big theme coming out of our track was about honesty and authenticity and how Filecoin has a really great opportunity to do really well here. So most of the presentations touched on how an aligned community is really important for success, but when people come to Filecoin and they don't have the experience that they're expecting, that erodes trust. So marketing is a really great tool to be authentic with people about what they're getting, but also keep our eyes trained on the vision and the direction for the future. So we talked about a few different ways how marketing can do this. Gary talked about how branding can do this, how Filecoin isn't a big corporation. It's a decentralized ecosystem with a lot of smart and scrappy teams. And when you're here early. We talked about how comms is really important for being honest about the roadmap and what's available, but also being excited for the future and being humble when things don't go to plan, but being honest about what's coming. Jen talked about with sales, words like give it a try and let's talk are really effective. Not saying, this is 100% working 100% of the time. This is, hey, you're here early. We're making it work for you. And then messaging being precise about what is and what isn't Filecoin. So some takeaways are every team, I think, has work to do about rethinking how we instill trust in our community. And we can all use marketing to be honest about the challenges, about all the work that's being done in this room, but also be excited about what's coming. There was a presentation yesterday from the Near Foundation, and most of us were marketing and comms people in the room, and he said the best marketers for Filecoin are not in this room, and I think many of them are in this room. All the founders and builders, I think you should be using your voices to get everyone excited about what's coming and what's happening. Danielle made a really great presentation that you should go check out about how to be active online and on stages. And then through that, galvanizing a community of supporters outside this room. And then lastly, embedding Filecoin, how we talk about Filecoin into the DNA of how we present ourselves. This is both visual and also in our language. So we had a great session with Molly and a lot of the L2s about language that's aligned to Filecoin and competitive. So action item is go into that doc and add to it, and we can make some formal guidelines out of it. And lastly, if you need any comms support, FF is here. We have a comms hub. You can always request support. So excited to continue elevating the voices of the ecosystem.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, Megan.
So in the IPC user working group, we run meetings every 2 weeks. They're online, but we took the opportunity, since many of the teams that are building on IPC were here, to actually do one of these live. We heard from different teams. They are in different stages of adoption of IPC, and specifically kind of like dove deep into what they've built so far, how they're using IPC, what challenges they've faced, what they need from the stack, and so on. So just touching on the teams here, Basin, for them, IPC is extremely critical. They couldn't have built their product without IPC as a substrate. And they talked about how they built credits, buckets, ACLs as built-in actors with the stack. Also talked about some of their protocols and how they're tapping into some of the mechanisms of IPC to actually do things like verifiable data dispersion. And they also even delivered an amazing demo that featured SQL queries over data sets that are stored on Basin using IPC. So that was pretty awesome too. Definitely recommend watching that demo. It's truly inspiring. With Akave, we discussed how the zoning mechanism could be underpinned by IPC, and kind of like touch on their exact usage of IPC. We discovered that it's mostly kind of like a vanilla usage of the EVM runtime and a bunch of other things. And for them, perf is really important from day zero. So this is serving for us to prioritize exactly what's on the roadmap next, and I'll talk about that in a second. With Straracha, their decentralization plans are coming a little bit later, but we highlighted some of the key themes for them, and PDP turns out where PDP lives, whether it's in the L1 and the L2 and what the interface is, becomes really crucial. So that defines a priority for us for the next months. And then with Spark Station Checker, this is really a really cool use case where they're facing a problem today on mainnet where reward distribution is really expensive on the gas level. So they want to do this bookkeeping and perform reward distribution in an L2 and export the observations to the L1 to power things like SLAs and SLOs. Next slide. So as for next steps and follow-ups, we are gonna prioritize main theme, kind of like major pain point here is actually the pain points with the IPC stack. So paying back technical debt and improving usability and docs is kind of like a major theme. We want to go from death by 1,000 cuts to it just works. Prioritizing local subnet performance. So things like benchmarking and optimizing the stack for chain throughput is also important. And also there was a topic here about bringing back Mycelium, which is a hosted testnet and mainnet subnet. To run by vanilla IPC so that users can get started really quickly experimenting with the stack. So we want to figure out low-lift ways of doing this. And then two major design topics here that I think are also going to influence the Filecoin roadmap is designing the interface between the L1 DSN, the storage network, and the L2. So not at a chain level, but at a storage level to provide things like deal making, sector, and status changes, PDP integration, and exporting data from subnets. So there's, what else? Designing automatic snapshotting of chain data into the L1 so that IPC, just the framework itself is just immediately snapshotting chain history onto the storage network was also a topic we discussed and we're going to focus on. And yeah, we're just generally going to continue informing the roadmap by what users want. So if you're looking to adopt IPC as well, then come speak to me.
Woohoo! Thank you. Sarah and Jenny.
Okay, hello. So we went into this track wanting to do an accelerated knowledge transfer and then a workshop, and we wanted to walk out of it with an MVP of what Filecoin's L1 long-term offering can look like in 2025. We actually did achieve that, so that's awesome. I'll let Jenny share in a second. we went through first builder, customer, and client needs and requirements, and then we went through some storage primitives so that everyone could understand what is the context that a lot of people have or some people have in the room, so that everyone could then discuss with the idea pitches. So we had some people come up and share their ideas for what the MVP could look like, and then finally we had a workshop continuation today where we actually locked that down into a roadmap. These are some of the ideas that came up. So key things that we wanted to that came out of the discussions was that accruing value to Filecoin L1 is super important. Verifiable SLAs also very important to have. And then align incentives and mechanisms as well as exportable storage services are things that we should also prioritize. So out of all these, we had some ideas on the table, but I'll let Jenny TLDR into exactly what we walked away with.
Like Sarah said, you probably have heard about Filecoin Web Service, FWS, the first time from Nicola in Brussels, which is in the last Filecoin Dev Summit. A lot of our next steps and follow-ups will actually be continue executing on Filecoin Web Service, but this time not just our team alone, but bringing more network teams to join our upgrade trajectory, this like experiment kind of thing. So the first thing we want to do is like to make sure that we understand that what's useful to be built for the client. So leveraging PMF working group, and we just formed a client success working group to do more user research so that we can have informed decision for engineer R&D teams to make sure what's the right thing to be built. The second one is like we're going to be building more on-chain data, proof SLA, checker contracts that's in the user land on FEVM. We are also hoping to be defining a new, more flexible, extensible, but more minimal deal structure for different SLA services to be hooked in. A simple market contract that does the payment and slashing, and if you are not fulfill your SLA, you will not get paid. We want to do a market contract to test out that. We want to define the implementation, define and implement fees. Oh yes, that's to make sure the Filecoin long-term offering does have value accrual back to the Filecoin network. And we want to work on a very simple deal payment to make sure that you can purchase Filecoin services using stable coins, Filecoin itself, or any ERC20 tokens. We might have to start planning Filecoin Dev Summit 6 per our track, because we want to make sure that the team got involved in building a Filecoin web service will be working on the things, do a check-in in maybe 4 to 6 months and see what the gaps are, share learnings, and align on the next steps. And we also want to discuss the incentive alignment and the value accrue more. And hopefully by the end of 2025, we do have storage provider providing more services on Filecoin, and some of the L2's apps, other chains are using Filecoin services through the Filecoin web service in general.
Woohoo! Thank you guys. Awesome.
So we have discussed a lot of APAC challenges nowadays, and then we realize there's a lot of problems need to be fixed, as well as like coming up with solutions how we can proceed next. So yeah, we have a lot of discussion as well as awareness, and then we also discuss the alternative incentive opportunities that can be encourage more SPs and builders to join a network, as well as building more stuff for the ecosystem. And then we'll also talk about how community can be more involved in governance, as well as FIP participation. As well as we're really inspired by Solana, how they have the idea about the super teams in different regions, be able to drive and then build, connect local resources and then push the growth. We'll also talk about what we need to do to strengthen the APAC builder engagement, to ensure the community is more involved, as well as they are motivated to build more stuff. Right now, there is a challenge with the builders specifically, is that we have APAC builders in the region, but a lot of them, they're not really united, also like aware what's going on. It's kind of like all over the places. And then plus they're having really different backgrounds compared to the Western builders. So we need to come up with a strategy to unite them and get them to be more productive, to share more feedbacks in the community. Lastly, we also talk about we need more support on the DeFi as well as storage development side. Next slide, please. So there are some action items we need to do. Regarding engagements, we've been asking about it so many times from the community. It's like, hey, we cannot, like speaking English properly, a lot of people. And then two is like a lot of different channels we're using right now cannot be engaging properly to provide feedbacks and then reaching out stakeholders. So we're thinking possibly going to launch like an AMA on a monthly basis to engage with the community and also connect them with the stakeholders for the key projects, answering questions, and then discuss challenges moving forward. And then also we're going to push harder for alternative solutions, how we can have more incentive plans for SPs and builders to boost the confidence as well as like participation to get more involved in ecosystem. And actually there'll be more detailed action item, how to do this, who to do this, like what's the plan, what's the next step, who's gonna be the pilot. It's more detailed instead of just like a blue, like out of the blue, like an idea. So it's going to be more to call to action plan. And then for the FIP side, we discussed there might be a chance we can test it out with the community via the voting process. It's going to be experience, a journey to learn, as well as like collecting feedbacks and then strategize as we going further. But it could be a really good start to have more community members to involve. And then also we're going to talk about we're thinking about to be more engaged with the builder group, like I mentioned earlier. Regarding the AMA, we actually going to be asking people to join us and then finding out actually possible we can create like a focus group and then collecting feedbacks from them, also creating more impact in the regional environment. And then also have more transparency regarding like when they applying for grants or applying for resources. A lot of people were giving feedbacks is about like, hey, we don't know where we're heading to or taking a long time getting feedbacks. So like having more transparency where they at, getting notification, as well as feedbacks about yes or no regarding the application, why, and how they can make changes to make improvement. We can do something around that. And then lastly is like we need to come up a strategy that how can support more DeFi projects, as well as layer twos that in the network can help grow increase the ecosystem growth. I wanted to look for the fourth letter for the tech, because I feel like all the next steps, I was thinking about that lastly. So I think transparency, efficiency, and consistency, I think is very, very important at this stage to making sure that all the efforts that we're putting in, as well as all the challenges we're facing to moving everything moving forward. But I think happiness is correct, making everybody happy. So thank you.
All right, big goals, make everyone happy. All right, future of OSS. Do we have a Nuba? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey everyone. So what we discussed is how open source can actually impact the Web3 communities and how it can bring trust and transparency into the whole process. We also had some amazing panelists from FIL Builders, Lib P2P kind of projects who are our partners in one of our programs called FIL Dev Guild, where we onboard new open source developers and experienced open source developers to make contributions, open source contributions in the PL ecosystem. So we discussed on how open source has brought all of us closer, and some of our panelists surprisingly were also my colleagues in Mozilla Foundation when we started I think a decade ago, and now we are all working at Filecoin ecosystem. So we have certainly made progress, and that's how open source work, and it has a lot of strength, but how we can utilize it to foster ecosystem and culture in Web3 is really, really important, and that's what we discussed. Next, please. Yeah, so our key takeaways were there were a lot of feedback on the program that we are running currently. So we took all of that feedback. I am not mentioning the feedback here, but I request one action item from all of you here is to share this QR code to join Protocol Labs Dev Guild Cohort 2 program and share it with as many developers possible. So wherever you find an amazing developer, ask them to create an impact in the PL network whenever they have any free time. So that's all. Thank you.
Woohoo! All right, refer people to PLDG today. All right. Phil Plus, Marta.
Okay, so Phil Plus Community Gathering. We had quite a good energy and ideas in the room, so we need to get better at channeling those in proposals. There was a lot of discussion, but we need to make those into actionable items. We had a chance to meet some of our more successful allocators, which brings optimism compared to what we often hear, that data cap is hard to obtain or allocate. There are allocators that are doing it very successfully. There was a request for a clear roadmap and plan for evolution of the program so that allocators and the community in general can plan for the future. We were all aligned that data cap should be available for all real deals. Now we need to figure out what real deals are, and we need more alignment on what good data is. And we reinforce this idea that Phil Plus is to let all possible allocation pathways bloom and see which ones stick and are successful. And we do need more experimentation. That was also the conclusion of the room. We are somewhat aligned that there is space for innovation and experimentation for the allocator pathways. But we also heard from some of the local allocators that they would like just clear guidance on what they are supposed to be doing, rather than asking them to innovate and come up with things that are unusual. And there is some willingness to experiment with the distribution of block rewards. Galen showed the new Filecoin Foundational FIL.org space for allocators, where there is a search for allocators. So if you ever get a client or a storage provider that are looking for allocators, just point them there, because that's now live. Finally, so it's really good. And then if we go next steps, first and foremost, use the QR code and you add your allocator ideas. We will have a follow-up call with anyone who adds their idea so that we can talk to you and see how it goes. Obviously, in general, we wouldn't be doing this for the whole community, but it's my promise to you that I'll talk to those who do add ideas, because I would like to learn more about what you want from allocators. There was a call for a better roadmap, so we'll be working on that. Request for a quicker turnaround for audits. But again, if we have less manual allocators, we will not have that much trouble with audits. So that's very important there. And needs more dashboards. We had a great session with Juan on the dashboards, so we'll work on that. And reminder that if you want to discuss any of those things or more, there's a bi-weekly allocator governance meeting. So come in there. Thank you.
Woohoo, awesome. Eva.
Hi, we did the chain tooling and infra track for the first time. Those are the track notes. It links to all the slides, and they're really interesting. We heard from a great cross-section of Filecoin communities, infra providers and infra builders. And I have so much gratitude to these teams who have been providing services to our community for years. And our track was super packed schedule, and but we had 1 minute to celebrate Arseni's birthday.
Woo! Happy birthday, Arseni! Yay!
Next steps, we didn't have enough time for actual interactive discussion, so hopefully next time we have more. Filecoin Station in particular presented concrete infra DX pain points to follow up on. And in the future, we need to have more cross collaboration within this group, also in between FDS. So.
Woohoo! Thank you, Eva. Paul.
All right, I think we just call this SP track. Definitely invited our local Thai SP. He can put up his hand in the back. Thank you, Anacorn, for coming and giving us insight. Thank you for taking the time out of your day, the last couple of days, to do this, so you have a public company to run. Thank you to the Thai people. Amazing job. This is an amazing setting. Good insight here. He's working in a greenfield environment, definitely running into some gaps on how he can sell this with either some off-the-shelf tools like Nextcloud, but needs some demoable tools. We're going to work on that. He's in a bit of a market pickle. We're at the point where selling to aggregators at a lower rate than $3 is not going to work for him, so we're going to work on that. Customers are already in Thailand. The major cloud is not here yet. However, they have announced regions that they will be setting foot somewhere north of Bangkok. Curio, thanks again for coming into the room. We've got hard costs on the savings here. We're going to get that out. Boostment replacement is coming, which people are looking forward to. Just some ideas on how they're going to run the business. They do not want to charge for support, so happy about that. Markets is the future there. We had 2 lenders in the room. Very good to hear from them to understand where the health of the SPs are at from a full auditable KYB background check, their finances, the quality of SPs that are still there. We did kind of have a new title for the FIL funds rate, as we call it, which is the glyph rate plus 150 basis points, somewhere around there. So at least we know where we're sitting. Next steps on that, we got to do some, that's the version 1 of this, but aggregator renegotiation or check-in. We're going to work on some white label stuff there. FIL to Thai bot is not listed, which poses a bit of a problem for this local market, wherein he's losing between 1% to 3% after he has to go to USDT in these other markets. So it's interesting to see. We're going to help him on that listing. Curio, we got the bomb coming out for Super Seal. We think the bomb is going to land around $15,000 on a 1U machine with the right gear in there. Maybe there'll be some used options on the floor. FF's going to continue to do the feedback loop there because new SPs need to know what Curio is and how it makes their life easier. And then from the lender side, they're very interested in seeing the SLI and SLO stuff. And I think I can finish
give
that
it one
off.
hot second because they're refreshing the slides for you.
Yeah. Top of my head here, I've got it on my phone. Thank you.
There you go. It's back up.
They're very interested in all the work on what we've called SLAs, but it goes all the way down to the SLIs. So all those teams working on that, the lenders are interested. They want to maybe give some feedback on how they might use those as well. And then the loop on new SPs coming in, the lenders have very good insight into running a profitable SP operation. So thank you again for offering some of those spreadsheets that will maybe release into the community or will remain in some closed doors for now.
Woohoo!
Thank you.
Awesome. Steph.
Hello, everyone. We had a great session. We had demos from ZetaCube, USDFC, eStore. Shashank spoke incredibly fast. It was amazing. And Fleek, we did some talking about the dog fooding process that we've developed at FF, why it matters and how we do it. Philippa did some talk about common UX pitfalls that we've seen. This is on the basis of the dog fooding we've seen across like doing 20, 30 projects across the ecosystem. We see the same things happening again and again. We did a little bit of impromptu live dog fooding of Fleek as he was doing the demo. And then we did 2 sessions, 45 minutes each. First one we did Phil Frame from Phil B. We had about 20 people. The purpose was to install their software and run it. We had about a 33% success rate. But if this is the raw data of the mirror boards where we capture this stuff. So for these 2 URLs, for these 2, we captured 50 bugs, actionable bits of feedback. For that process. In 45 minutes with 20 people, it's really a very, very, very highly efficient way to eliminate bugs and pain points out of the tools and software that you're building. We then did it again on Sriracha. We had some people were too exhausted by the fill frame. We did it had fewer people. So we were down to about 12 people. 80% of them successfully in 45 minutes up and downloaded. Uploaded and retrieved data. I use my standard file for testing this, which is a video of Juan talking from about 2 years ago. We identified 60 bugs and bits of feedback were captured. They are all on these 2 Miro boards. So you can look. Next slide, please. Next steps and follow-ups. Share the raw findings with the full frame and Sriracha teams. Tick. I think I just did that on the last slide. And then summarize and prioritize, because as well as there's a lot of raw data that we give, but we also like to filter it down and go, these are the high impact points and lower impact points you should get to. So then the next step is to fix the bugs and improve the UX and make it just work. We are going to share the UX pitfalls docs that we have made. That's on this QR code here, so we've ticked that one off as well. And just to tell everyone and let everyone know, the FF UXIT team, FF UXIT, never try and say that as one word. We are here to... I love that joke. We are here to help. We can test your stuff. The earlier in your process, the better. Like if you can have a paper prototype, you can have a sketch, you can have a Figma. We can make this process work on those things, and we will help you make your stuff a success. That's it. Thank you very much.
Steph, can we have some sort of regular weekly venue where this happens, where the Filecoin community can suggest things and we can do this process together on a regular cadence with this?
We actually do it kind of every 2 weeks, but we've
Can you make that an open thing on Luma that people can subscribe to?
We'll figure out a way to do that, yes.
Heck yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Last but not least, the track that didn't exist during the kickoff, Juan with the dev upgrade track.
So we added this track last minute because a lot of us were talking about ways of improving our systems, and we didn't have a way of having the meta-reflective conversation. So what we did is we gathered a set of folks, and we did a 2-hour interactive session, reading and writing each of our thoughts and responding to it and upvoting certain things to discuss. We generated a lot of really useful material here. So we reviewed how we work, what our roadblocks are, what our rate limiters are. We started the conversation by discussing a lot of inspiring groups and cultures and what it is about those that we find useful, what kind of principles and cultural elements we admire and we think would be useful for us. Then we surfaced a set of problems and opportunities in how we do things. So these are very concrete things like how we generate information, how we find out about what other people are doing, how we update various groups on our roadmaps, how we stick to roadmaps, how we keep information updated, how we reduce the amount of information that we generate and people have to consume. Then all kinds of things in terms of being able to orient in a decentralized larger scale network. How do we orient a lot of different groups to ship unified products with really good UX? How do we build the missing middle where individual teams are maybe working at one level, maybe there's a super high level view of where the ecosystem should head, but there's a missing middle in between of how do a lot of people coordinate and interact on very practically what are the concrete milestones that need to be delivered to make things actually work and be delivered. So lots of really, really useful thoughts in there. The next steps and follow-ups are that, towards the end of that discussion, we distilled all of our problems and opportunity finding into very concrete, actionable suggestions at different levels of scope. Either things that individuals can do, things that teams can do, things that groups of teams can do, and things that the whole network can do. That part of the section is really useful. You may find value in going through and reading that and taking some suggestions away to bring to your team. And second, we committed individually to a whole slew of things at the end of that session that we as a group committed to doing between now and the next FDS. So this is a whole range of improvements that group of us that went into that room are going to do. And at next FDS, we're going to check in with this and see how we did. We're also going to mine that doc for more suggestions and improvements and potentially do some of those things or find who could help us do those things. And the third thing is that we're going to run an improved version of this track because it was impromptu and kind of thrown together last minute. We're going to run an improved version of this track at FDS 6 so we can turn it into an ongoing improvement optimization function for us. That's it. And thank you for everybody who participated. It was super useful.
Woohoo! Thank you so much to all of our track leads for recapping their tracks. Thank you all so much. You may go sit back down. We're about to do some async activity. We have 12 minutes to finish this track and get you there. Reminder, I'm sure all of you took a ton from all of the tracks, but also all of the many hallway conversations and other discussions. I know I have a couple of really interesting insights that didn't come from any specific track, but came from one-on-one conversations. Share your learnings in the FIL Dev Summit Slack so that other people can know about it and we can all go and make it happen together. Also, recordings are already coming online. Thank you so much, wonderful AV team, for being badass and getting these up in flight while we're still doing it. So these are up on the Filecoin YouTube. So go and start watching all of the amazing recordings. More are going to be coming out each day. So if you missed Wednesday, which was our first day, it's already up on YouTube. You can go watch it. Great exercise opportunity. Okay, cool. We're now going to retro. I'm only going to give you 7 minutes to do this because we have some clapping to do afterwards. So this is our retro doc, FDS5 Bangkok. If you've been to an FDS before, you know the drill. I will drop the link in Slack in just a second. If someone else wants to do that for me, that'd be even better. But we're gonna, 7 minutes, write down some things you liked, write down some things you didn't like, write down some things you wish for in the future, some crazy ideas, some practical ideas, whatever it takes. And then after you're done writing your ideas, read through others and vote with little emojis. So thumbs up, other things that you agree with. Planning for next year. We just talked about a lot of things that we want to do for FDS 6. This is a wonderful calendar that Meredith and folks at the Filecoin Foundation have started gathering for next year with some rough time frames. So we've got maybe some people are doing a couple more events, Phil Bangkok or Phil Bangalore, a couple of other things through the end of the year. But when you start looking at 2025, it'd be awesome if we as a community could get a rough sense of when we want to do FDS 6, FDS 7, whether we want to do 2 or 3 FDSs next year. We also, the outcome from the Hacker House that was just ahead of this was, we want to do more of those. Those were super awesome as well. And so, question mark, who from this venue would like to do FDS 6 in East Denver in the United States, and that is your preferred next FDS venue? Okay. Small subset. Who would prefer to do a Hacker House at the same time as Denver and not do an FDS and just make it a deeper dive Hacker House working session? Okay, different people, also very small subset. What other events are? Who would prefer to do something that is completely unassociated with some major event, but we choose our own time and own location, and you have to fly there separately, you have to make time separately, but you don't have another event that you have to go to for the next FDS? Are you kidding? Everyone's raising their hands. I must be selling it well. Okay, cool. We might choose our own timing. That'd be interesting. Yeah, when this is true. When we talked about this in Singapore at the first FDS, and everyone's like, we should always do these right before a big event when we're all gonna be going there anyway, because we already travel too much and it's too much effort to go to events that we're not gonna go to anyway. Who's planning to go to Consensus in Toronto or Consensus in Hong Kong? Okay, Toronto, anyone? Couple people. Hong Kong, Consensus in Hong Kong in whenever that is, February. Over top of Chinese New Year? Okay, very few people. Who's going to EthCC? Which I think is back in Paris. We can all celebrate my birthday again. It's in where? Can I go there? I don't know. Is that still France? Close enough. Even better. Okay, I think we should definitely do something there. Yeah, but I don't think we can wait until July to have our next FDS. All right, TLDR from this room, thank you all for voting. This is also, by the way, our largest FDS ever, so you guys are great, and we're also gonna prioritize your perspectives on when we should do the next one. And sounds like March-ish, wherever we want to go as a community, is people's preference, not overlapping with some other major Web3 event. Maybe just another quick nudge in planning for next year, and then we're gonna go to the retro, is we'd like to set some network-wide goals. These were ones that came out of the track that Juan was leading before, a network-wide metric and goal around number of clients of Filecoin who would be very disappointed if Filecoin went away. So something tracking very successful, very happy clients of Filecoin. A metric around the revenue from paid storage deals happening on chain would also be very useful. And we are looking for more. So if you have ideas for a good network gathering and unifying goal that we can shoot for as a collective, please come talk to me during the happy hour. I'd love to hear your ideas so that we can kick off 2025 with some collective focus and metrics we're holding ourselves to. Okay, cool. Now we're gonna go back to our retro. You have like 5 minutes now. Some people I'm sure got a head start. So you should be edible now. If you haven't already voted, go vote. Otherwise, we are going to wrap it up there. There's a lot of really good feedback, a lot of amazing appreciation for seeing wonderful humans, for the great venue, for all of the prep that went into this and the tracks being awesome. Some flags on wanting to have better room configurations, better seating, enabling people to participate in conversations, some suggestions for making name badges a little bit more useful, fewer parallel tracks, all of that good stuff. Rooms are too cold. I think we got that fixed by the end, or people brought enough sweaters. A lot of nudges on making sure we're really solving problems. Some challenges on running late. We need to do a much better job on that next time, especially if we have parallel tracks. And then a lot of flags around getting a better view of spontaneous breakout sessions, clearer roadmaps, what we've achieved, and more kind of unconf time. So add thumbs up to the things you agree with, but thank you so much. We will very much use these for planning the next one of these. Going back to our closing, we have a couple of more things, which is mostly a big, big thank you to everyone that's involved. So starting with our sponsors again, just keep clapping the whole time. I'm gonna shout things. Yay, thank you sponsors so much for making this possible. Thank you so much speakers for speaking on all the things. You are the best and you're all beautiful. Thank you to our track leads for the amazing tracks we had. Thank you to our content support leads who made our track lead successful. Thank you to Tiny Rebel, Elsa from FF, our Orbit ambassadors, Gaysorn staff, Millie, everyone. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. We've thanked everyone. Reminder, share your photos, share your videos. We'll help tweet them out all over the world and get them lots of love and success. Stick them, if you need it, stick them in this QR code. It's a great QR code. I don't even know where it goes, but I'm sure it's somewhere great. Okay, yoga time. Whew. All right, with that, we're 5 minutes late, but that's pretty darn good. We're gonna head out here to our happy hour, drinks, bites, maybe mosquitoes. I'll kill some mosquitoes for you. It's my personal goal for the entire time here in Bangkok. We can hang out, and then after hours, once you get bored hanging out here, we can go with the Ramo team as part of Protocol Labs Lab Week. They are doing after hours at the Anantara every evening from 7:30 to midnight. So come hang out. It's a really, really beautiful lobby. If you've never been there, it's great. Totally worth hanging out. And then I also have Nikki or Andrew who want to give you an update about some of the Lab Week events that are happening, or maybe I'm just supposed to talk about it? Okay, cool. I'm going to talk about it. There's a lot of amazing events happening over the next couple of days as part of Lab Week. Come to these events. If you need the calendar, it's right there. Luma, Lab Week Web3. It's going to be a great, great gathering. We have folks from all over the world that are hosting events here. Also, we just did the Filecoin Dev Summit. There's now going to be a FIL Dev Summit for the next 2 days. If you are part of the Protocol Labs network, you can participate. What? Okay, things that people should go to and why over the next couple of days. First, go to the FIL Dev Summit for the next 2 days. Also, there is Funding the Commons that is happening in this building today, tomorrow, at some other point. That's a great event to go to. IPFS Bangkok is happening all day on Sunday. That's a great, it's all unconference. If you do anything overlapping with data preparation, content routing, private data, access control layers, peer-to-peer data transports, go to the IPFS Bangkok session. There's a lot of like-minded people there trying to solve the same problems. I'm going to now have to start reading things. What is next after that? Yes, there's the FIL Bangkok main stage, which is happening November 11th. You guys should all definitely be there. Definitely come. It's going to be awesome. And that's our more showy venue. This is us working together in rooms. That's us showing off some of the amazing things that y'all have built over the last couple of months. So use that.
In one of the prior events, we organized a large event, and then a lot of us were in FIL Dev Summit, and so then we weren't able to go to the event. This time, we separated those so that all of you could go. So now, so please make sure to come to FIL Bangkok main stage and go and meet a lot of the people that are outside the ecosystem that are interested in Filecoin and may be able to come in and join us.
Few others. Go join the FIL Builders team on November 13th for Code and Corgi. It's going to be awesome. Definitely join the Sriracha team for hot wings and hot thoughts about Sriracha. Pangina and Sriracha. It's going to be amazing. November 13th. There's an awesome Cello gathering. I don't know what day because they didn't put it on the logo. Join the Akave team for a hands-on decentralized storage workshop November 14th. There's also a lot of aspiring founders dinners or current founders dinners. So check out the Lab Week website for those as well. They're going to be great gatherings. Oh, also Lit P2P Day and Threshold Summit that are both happening on the 12th? The 12th? Yeah, and so definitely come to those as well to hear about all the randomness and peer-to-peer networking work of your dreams. Okay, you want to talk about this one again?
Let me just pitch this for a second. So a lot of us are part of the PL network, and we've built a lot of infrastructure for builders and groups of people doing things, creating organizations, creating projects, developing as people. We've built a bunch of infrastructure in the PL network over the years to enable you to do everything you do better and easier. Inspired by FIL Dev Summit, I wanted to create a venue to improve the PL network itself. So think of like ways of improving how we support talent across the ecosystem, how we help organizations recruit, how we help people level up in their professions, how we create connectivity between people working in specific roles, how do we create mentorship relationships, how do we, sorry, can you go? Oh, yeah, awesome. So we'll have a set of sessions also focused on the set of focus areas that we have in the broad network. So things like the digital human rights Web3 angle, the upgrading economies and governance, new breakthroughs, neurotech, and so on. And we are going to have a set of sessions on new things that are going to be deploying in 2025, including the V1 of the PL alignment asset and so on. So come to this PL Dev Summit to improve the network itself. It's a very first one, so it's going to be, this is FDS 5, is like super decked out, and we optimize it a lot. This is PL Dev Summit 1, so it'll be very early. Expect a lot of workshops, and you can go and suggest things, add things to the schedule if you want to. There'll be a lot of open conversations and workshops, and then we'll upgrade and iterate from there. Thank you.
Awesome. And I think with that, we are officially done and closed. Thank you guys all so much. Let's all head outside and join the happy hour. And it's an also opportunity to share some ideas that you maybe didn't get to during this. So thank you all.